I sat here before we started doing this live Facebook mentions today that we'll also post on YouTube and other platforms, and I really struggled to come up with a headline that was strong enough to actually define what's happening. I have mainstream news articles I'm going to show you with the head of the EU/UN migrant program openly saying that the West is too white, and so that's why they're bringing in Muslim immigrants from North Africa and the Middle East. Now that's actually the cover for why they're doing it, but just the claim that we've advertised our borders are open, we've advertised we'll put you on welfare, we've advertised we've got all these women for you, and then to bring in 5 million people into Europe the last 3 years from the Middle East, and 80% of them are military-age men running around burning up buses, killing people, running over people with cars, every form of craziness you can imagine, and they're so entitled. And the controlled corporate media won't even tell you their name's Ali. When they chop somebody's head off, they tell you their name's David. This is so Orwellian, I can't even believe it. I was not somebody that was for the Iraq War. I was not somebody who was for the clash of civilizations. I was somebody that would actually be somewhat politically correct 5-6 years ago, and I would say, let's not be Islamophobic. Well, when Western governments are allied with the most orthodox radical forms of Islam, I've got a serious problem. And here are the new announcements, and then I'm going to break down what the fall of the West means to you and the fact that the UN admits that it wants to bring down the West. This is an article without the Associated Press. France wants members of the public to take in migrants as official centers can't cope. And it was always planned. It was always planned to do that. Germany's already been doing that a year or so ago, kicking old people out of their Section 8 housing and bringing the illegals in. Merkel to urge chiefs of big companies to hire refugees, build newspaper reports. Now they open the borders of Europe, they advertise come and get everything free, and then now as the public revolts, they have staged elections in places like Austria. The polls showed 70-something% were going to vote for the Nationalist Party. Magically, they lost. Polls show almost everybody's against this, but it still continues. Again, France wants the public to take these people into their houses. Now, you have to understand, folks, these are almost all, even Interpol reports, military-age men. Their countries are collapsing, thanks to globalist policies in most cases. So there's this leftist cover story that, well, we bombed their countries, so that made them come here. No, actually, we bombed the non-radical Muslim countries to bring them down in Libya and Iraq and Syria to bring in the jihadis. These are almost all Wahhabists, a radical sect of Sunniism that is the 80% of Islam's followers, 1 billion people roughly. So there's 1 billion people in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Most of the world's billion Sunnis live there, that believe it is their birthright, manifest destiny, to come here and take over your life and make you submit to Sharia law. Make you culturally go along with their orders. You don't have to join Islam. You just have to submit to them, like the mayor of London's done, saying no more women in bikinis on any type of advertising in the city. We're following Sharia. We're not Uncle Tom's to the West. He said, I don't care if you vote to leave the Brexit that's opened up to Muslims. We're going to stay in it in London. The caliphate is being established. And it's all been planned. They have powerful friends, not just Saudi Arabia. UN migration envoy believes EU should undermine national homogeneity. That means whiteness. Peter Sutherland is the main founder of the European Union, the dictatorial superstate. He took a demotion to be the head of migration, but that's the real power. In the 21st century, they're fighting with giant masses of immigrants. And Europe is right next door to the Islamicists that for over 1,000 years have tried to take down, 1,000 years plus, Europe. But now, allied with the globalists, it's happening. Swedish women who are raped are openly told, say a blonde-haired man did it, be politically correct, and they do it. German minister was raped, and she said that Germans had done it to be politically correct. She was hailed for lying. This is a mass suicide cult. This is a mass turn off your life force system. This is a mass hate yourself system. But it's not to bring in some political correctness. That's the cover story. That's the operating smokescreen. The UN laughs in the third world where they have these populations as slaves. The UN always has an armored fortress up on a hilltop. They have helicopters, sex slaves. They are above the law. They do whatever they want, whenever they want. The UN's always being caught, like Muslims, with slaves in their homes, just like got caught in Texas last week. And they say it's Sharia law, we're allowed to. The UN is a giant global government corporate parasitic organization to keep third world countries poor and to basically carry out globalist operations for multinational corporations. So this is just some of what we're dealing with. And these are criminal organizations who admit what they're doing. And they use the incredible brainwashing that has taken place in the West to have us just lower our defense mechanisms and go along with all of this. Here is another report out of CBS News. Stores to customers, cash not welcome here. And before I even read the article, I knew, because I knew who the test subject country was, I knew it would be Scandinavia. I read the article and it was. In these different Scandinavian countries, like Finland and others, they take money directly out of your bank account if you're heard by secret police criticizing the migrants that are everywhere. Everything is digital. The government takes money directly out of your bank account, tracks everything you do via your cell phones in real time. It is beyond 1984. To get a glimpse of the future of commerce in America, look no further than Sweden. This is the same place where when women are raped, they're told to say that it was a Swede that did it. And it goes through how everything you do is controlled and how great it is and how wonderful it'll be to get rid of cash. The globalists are getting rid of cash, in Peter Sutherland's own words, to track everything you do and totally control society. And Europe is the beta test model of modern tyranny. They're bringing in Chinese-style draconian censorship. They are putting laws in place banning in Germany the building and construction of new single-family dwellings, saying that's hateful to have your own family. In Austin, under Agenda 21, they're basically banning people getting new zoning who want to put a gate on their house. This is a criminal instinct to end individualism, to end true liberalism. And it's amazing to know that all these rich globalists that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars in many cases can go around lecturing everyone else that you can't have a fireplace or a car or you can't have air conditioning, it's bad for the earth, when they live the most lavish lifestyles the world's ever seen. This is the new modern royalty. And in Europe, Goldman Sachs, that every time you research something is behind almost everything, the biggest bank in the world, they're funding the victim disarmament gun control movements. They're funding the open borders. They're funding the hiring of all these migrants over citizens' jobs. And Goldman Sachs has had their different chairmen and different vice chairmen and different directors be installed in 5 different European countries in the last 10 years. They call it technocracy. And guess who Peter Sutherland, the founder of the EU, now the head of the migrant program, guess what he calls himself? Well, he's the Goldman Sachs International Chairman. Goldman Sachs International Chairman, the mega banks, using the third world to lower your wages and create a balkanized group of people that can be clients of the state and be played off against the general population as the mega state plays the part of the arbiter or the referee during the collapse of civilization. If you want to see 21st century war, this is it. And this is against individualism, it's against individual wealth, it's against nouveau riche and middle class wealthy that the globalists don't control. I'll be on the radio tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. with the Sunday Show Central, covering all this and more. Donald Trump has done internal polls and shows there's major election fraud in the polls. I'll be covering it tomorrow. He's calling for a international movement and a movement here in the United States. Donald Trump solicits election observers to beat rigged elections. We've got produced videos breaking all this down going up in the next few hours on Infowars.com. They just think we're going to sit here and take all this corruption and not call it for what it is and just submit to it. But when we resist it, they have to backpack. They have to basically start backtracking on what they're doing. And the same thing is happening right now with the Brexit in Europe. The same thing is happening all over the world as people wake up to this. They just want to keep us in the dark and they win. But they won't win if we're aware of 21st century warfare is corporate feudalism, corporate colonialism that's demonizing the old nation states as colonialist and then bringing in all the supposed suppressed groups who are being suppressed by the neo-colonialism right now, hyping them all up with political correctness, bringing them in reverse colonization of the West as their clients to bring us down into third world status while the globalists are offshore in their technotronic bases above the law with diplomatic immunity. Now that's a raw breakdown of these facts. Produced videos coming tonight to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. God bless you all. We'll see you there.